Welcome back to the next installment of the Next Move presented by Quick Timeout and Coach Portal, the platform built by coaches for coaches and designed to simplify the job search process and provide coaches at all levels the job opportunities they deserve. Talking today about taking that next step in your coaching journey and making sure that it's the right step by identifying factors that will actually further your career. Our guest today is no stranger to the show. He's currently the assistant coach at the College of Charleston, Coach Jeremy Growe. Coach, welcome back.
Tony, how you doing? Thanks for having me on again.
Coach Growe's entering his second year there at Charleston. Also had stops at Furman and Xavier. Was also at Indiana. Coach, as you look back on your different stops, was there any kind of indication or feelings maybe that you had for a particular job that was the right step or the next step that you should take in your career?
Every time I've been approached with opportunities, I'm pretty slow to analyze what the situation is and what that means. I have tried my best not to jump around a whole lot in my career. Now, a lot of coaches may not always have that choice. I've been really fortunate with that. I've only had to move after graduating college twice. I've worked for one boss now. This will be my 10th year working for him. I worked for another one for 5. And another one for 1 that didn't require me to move. It was a situation where he became the head coach as an assistant, got promoted. And so I've been a little bit slow to move. That's for a couple reasons. One, as you get older, your family is the number one consideration when making a move. I now have an 8-year-old son, a 6-year-old daughter, got a wife. They are the number one priority in terms of any move I make. So that's number one. The second thing that always you want to make sure is that there's stability, and that when you evaluate what is the floor that you are walking into. And I've been really, really fortunate that every stop that I've been at has been a winning program. And that provides a really high floor as well as great stability, especially when it comes to number one, your family, and as well as number 2, your career.
How do you separate things like salary and maybe even location from things like opportunity for you as an individual to grow and kind of the long-term growth and even the development as a coach?
I have tried to never make a job decision based off of salary, especially with the industry that we're in, where the long-term goals of sustainability, as well as I do have a goal of eventually becoming a Division I head coach, really not even Division I, a head coach at a school or an institution that fits me. That's the number one priority, not necessarily to be one, but one that fits me. And as you go through those processes and those decisions, I think it's really important that you know what your priorities are in making those decisions. A lot of times when you elevate levels, the financial gains come with it. As I've gotten older, I've become less and less concerned about level and more concerned about what is the fit. How does this develop me? Is this right for my family? And so a lot of times, if that right opportunity comes and it is an elevation, the financial gains will come with it. But I want to make sure that it's the right fit for my family. I want to make sure that I'm going to develop. And I've been fortunate enough to work for really, really successful head coaches that are really great people. And that's really important to me.
I want to talk about the fit. I've talked about it a lot on this show with regard to like players and them recruiting and where do I go to college and not just the level like you talked about. I know coaches think about that to an extent, but I also think that they sometimes get the glamour of the level. They will sacrifice the other things. What are some of those other things?
I would say, and I kind of briefly talked about it when I was younger, early 20s, mid 20s, I would be lying to you if I said I wasn't concerned with level. But as I've gotten older, as I've gained more experience, and look, I far from know everything. To me, the level has become less important. What's been more important to me in terms of fit is what works for my family, as well as what is the culture do I know the head coach? What's my comfort level with them? As well as what is your role and ability to develop and continue to get better? Because I think that's the most important, that's one of the most important things in making a decision. Are you continuing to grow when making a decision like this? And those are a couple of things that I think about besides, hey, what is the financial gain of all that? And like I discussed, most times when you're going through it, that'll either come with the role or set you up for maybe in the future if you're able to continue to evaluate. So that can never be, in my opinion, if you want to continue to advance, one of the first couple bullet points. Now, I understand there's different situations where people with families and different things like that can make a major decision, and not everybody is the same, but those are the things that I've tried to process when making those types of decisions.
There is sometimes a hesitancy of coaches. They don't want to make that lateral move. Is there anything that you can identify either for yourself or just others that you've talked with to avoid that?
It's kind of goes back to my original point of, not getting too caught up in what the level is. And so when you're talking about a lateral move, there can be a lot more to it than what meets the eye. Do you have a elevation and role? Is that maybe, hey, similar level, but one program is more sustainable in terms of, I don't know, financial infrastructure for the program, not necessarily yourself? Or is a place, really built to win? Do you have a special relationship with the head coach? I think there's a lot of different factors that you have to weigh versus like, hey, am I just going level to level? When presented with different situations, not that my processes are right or wrong, a lot of times I try to figure out, well, what is the floor with both situations? And then what is the ceiling? If you try to figure out what that is, that can at least help you gauge where on the spectrum you feel comfortable making a change. And like I said, I've been now in coaching for 16 years. I've only moved twice, so I'm not necessarily the guy that's been jumping a whole lot. Been really fortunate, really, that I haven't been forced to. And there's a lot of coaches that have been put in positions that it doesn't matter if they want to or not, they have to. It's the unfortunate nature of the business. I've been fortunate that I haven't had to make those decisions. A lot of it is probably because I've been a little bit slower to make sure when deciding to move or acknowledging that I'm in a really stable, successful situation.
One of the biggest things for the college level is you as an assistant coach deciding who you're going to hook your wagon to, and that head coach. And you've been fortunate, like you've said, to have head coaches that have been great people and helped you further. What, in regards to advice, would you say to people from that perspective, thinking about who am I going to connect myself with?
I think it's got to be in the top of your priority list. There's going to be a lot of things that are important to you. I've been fortunate. I worked for Chris Mack. He was a guy that I worked for his entire 9 years at Xavier. He gave me my first and second opportunity in college basketball, hired me as a graduate assistant, and then elevated me to director of basketball operations. It's someone that I'm very comfortable with, I trust fully, and someone I fully believe in. And so I've been fortunate enough to have 10 years of working for him and about to go on number 11. I also worked for Bob Ritchie at Furman for 5 years. I mean, everybody that follows you and follows your podcast knows that Bob is as good as it gets as well. Someone that's been very successful, and that's a great person that's in it for the right reasons. And so I've been fortunate in terms of, those are the two guys that I've worked for the longest that I knew going in. One, they're great people, and two, great coaches that are really successful and that I could continue to learn and develop from them.
So as you look back over those last 16 years, with the wisdom that you have now, giving yourself a piece of advice in regards to navigating your career choices for optimal growth, what would it be?
I think number one is crush it where you're at. Do the best possible job you can for your boss and your school and for your institution. To every single day, just worry about that. And the rest of this stuff will take care of itself. The Twitter rumors, all that stuff is irrelevant. Did you do the best job for your program that day? You have to walk in every single day thinking that. I think that's number one. And then number two is especially if you're not married and you're mobile, making sure that you are never make a decision based off money, especially early in your career. You want to be attached to great people. You want to be attached to winning programs and places that you can learn. And when you're younger, you have an ability to do that because you don't have to worry about wife, kids, can I move? What does this mean financially? You're at a place where you can just really go and let loose in terms of trying to figure out how you can be the best coach you can possibly be. And those are really important years to develop in terms of a coach, and not necessarily the X's and the O's, but how do you act every single day when you go in the office? How are you a professional every single day? Who are you surrounding yourself with? So making sure that those things are in place versus the financial gain.
Awesome stuff. Coach, appreciate you taking some time for us today.
Awesome. Thanks, Tony.